really grateful to have you on. I've connected with you from day one, facilitator training. It was just an instant connection, and I love that we've nurtured this friendship and this relationship ever since. And I'm really grateful to shine a light on your work, because I know it's important, and I have seen it firsthand. I've come on some of your retreats, and I know the importance of this work, because in my own life, and we even spoke about this in today's workshop as well, that it has a ripple effect on our children, and not just our children. That is super important. It's generational change and breaking generational curses, but not just that, the ripple effect that it has in people's relationships, their interpersonal relationships, their co-workers,
your family dynamics, and it ripples on from there.
Yeah, so this, it's not some woo-woo thing. I really think that the work that we do on ourselves, the inner work that we do on ourselves, it has a difference. It makes a difference.
Well, I think that when you start believing in you and you start really self-reflecting on who you are, what your triggers are, and whereabouts you've come from, can you really start looking at what the outside is mirroring to what your inside is? And I think that's the key. I mean, we met, nearly 3 years ago, Chris, at the Breathless Masters. And one of the first things that I remember when you first came up to me when we were taking a walk out to do that beautiful ice cold water therapy that we all love.
Yeah, in the cold.
You come running up to me and the first thing you said was, Michelle, you're an inner child therapist. And I said, I am. And he said, I've got some things that I need to work on. And I think since then, we've had that basis of communication where we've worked together year after year, done the workshops and continual our journey in peeling back our own layers. And I think that's the beauty of each time that, you come together, or we're doing a workshop, or, you're doing your workshops, you're in your own family environment and I'm in mine. Can you come back and really come back to that heart space and go, okay, well, what is it that we can share today with the people that we connect with? And that's the beauty of this work.
Absolutely. And that was my instant curiosity the moment I met you. I remember that walk very clearly, and I remember just being sort of enamored by you. I met you and you shared a little bit about your story before we had gone on that walk, and I was like, you know what, that's somebody I want to talk to. I feel like a lot of how I've shown up in the past in dysfunctional ways is due to my upbringing. It's due to my childhood, and I knew a lot of the work that needed to be done started there. How do I, peel back the layers, as you say, and start there with my own inner child work? Because I always feel like a lot of it ties back to that. What kind of dysfunctional patterns we picked up, or what kind of things that we were exposed to at a young age. Gabe Mate and his work around trauma and inner child work. And I'd love to just kind of start at the beginning. Because I do this with all my podcasts, is get a bit of a feel and an understanding about your journey. How did you get on this path of breathwork and inner child healing? Can you sort of take the listeners back to what your world was like before you started, and what were the main catalysts that kind of put you on that journey?
I think the main thing for me, Chris, is that I've struggled most of my life, always been in a fight and flight from a very, very, very young age.
Like a survival state for most of your life.
Sexually abused at a very young age. I was always different. When I look back now and I can see the gift of sight that I had, and how that was not as open as what it is now. So one of those little bit of, a superpower, if you'd like to say at such a young age, is you'd be able to see through things, see people's truth. And when I look at those kind of things, when I reflect now, and I think how much back then was downed upon, was squashed. So I now look at how much I changed who I was to fit other people where they're at. So again, it wasn't an innate superpower then, it was a dysfunction because nobody wanted to be around me. I it very hard to read and write growing up. What do you mean you can see that energy around that flock of birds or around that person? You know, you must be, you know, some woo-woo, like, who are you? So again, you know, you can see in different patternings how the patterns and the behaviours started from such a young age. You're not good enough. One thing that I got taught a very, very long time ago, which was the thing which is a leverage for me to become who I am now, was I ended a relationship. And at that time, because it was quite toxic and dysfunctional, I opened up 1,000 paths 22 years ago. And I thought to myself, I can either go on this path or I can go on this path. So I chose the path that I needed to know what was holding me back my whole life. And at the start of that particular year, I said to myself, I would love to go to Uluru and I want to learn a little bit more about healing. So at that time, I was a little bit, didn't have a lot of money. I started with a couple of crystals on the table and a tarot reader. My friend paid for that trip for me. And that trip was the thing that changed my whole life. I got to meet Lorraine Webb, which was my mentor and has been my mentor for 22 years. Unfortunately, she passed away tragically a year and a half ago. And in that 10-day healers course, on the last day of that course, I unlocked what it was that was holding me back my whole life. Now, in that moment there, I could feel the energy between my legs for the first time. And then I really started to peel back my own layers. And then when Lorraine used to tell me that you can't take anyone anywhere they aren't willing to go themselves, I have to take myself there. So you can take another there. So throughout this time, I just continue on my journey of just peeling back that one layer. And it could be a sexual abuse, or it could be a guilty feeling. It could be I'm too deep, or it could be lots of different layers. Abandonment, not good enough. Like, you know, we get triggered by the outside world all the time. But we're in a fast-paced society all the time that we're always in a fight and flight, so we just get stuck there.
Yeah, we don't slow things down enough to actually acknowledge what those triggers are or why they're there.
Yeah.
And that's why coping mechanisms are so common these days, and people find distractions and drugs and addictions to sort of mask what's there, because we are moving in such a fast-paced world.
Yeah.
We need something to help regulate ourselves when we're in that state. I don't want to steer too away from what you were sharing there, but, you know, I was going to ask about the people that you studied with, and even though Lorraine has passed on, I feel like you are the embodiment of her work. You carry on her work, and I just want to kind of like make a point of that as well. I've come to know you, and you've shared a few times a bit about what you learned with working with Lorraine, and I really do believe that you were sort of like you're carrying the torch forward of her work.
Most definitely. I said to her, 22 years ago, and we've worked a lot together in between that time. We still go back to Uluru every year in September. I've gone down and done workshops, inner child therapy. But I said to her on that last day that I will be a web of her teachings. And I still will, and having, installed that in my children and in the people that I'm so honoured to meet, and that ripples into other people's families and other friendships. So it's the web of life. So yeah, I'm super grateful for what she's taught me, and since her passing, I've had to learn, not had to, but I've learnt that I have to now step into my power and trust in myself. And here comes breathwork. Here comes breathless.
Yeah.
Where as much as we are doing the healing modality of inner child work, breath work has taken it deeper.
Yeah. So it's that
now
extra piece that
correct,
sort of
that was
was
the piece
added
that was
to what
missing.
you were doing. So you
Most
started off your
definitely.
journey as inner child work.
Yeah.
And you'd gone through your own transformations and
Yeah.
realizations and done your inner work. And then that next missing piece of the puzzle was breath work. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that journey was like for you as well?
So just before I started up with Breathless, I went with a friend of mine and we did a breakthrough breath work with Matt Omo. He was in the Hawkesbury at the time. And I didn't know why I was showing up for this event. My friend wanted to go, so I thought, oh, great, we'll go along. I had no idea what was going to come out. And during that breath work, I started to go through those body feelings that I would normally get if I was in a healing or if I'm conducting a healing. And started getting the tingling. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if I can just do this for half an hour, 45 minutes, how can I take a group of people or how can I do a one-on-one session just with the power of the breath?
Yeah.
So I kept on putting it out there, that I needed to find the right person that resonated with me.
Yeah.
Resonated with my morals, my values, and what the next mentor that was going to be for me that had the same integrity, came from that same heart place. And that's where I found Johannes. Went down there and did the level 1, went down there and did the masters.
Which is where we met, and
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you like signed up to that, because
Yeah.
we got to connect and we got to meet there, and I've met so many incredible people throughout that community as well. So please go a little bit further with that.
Through that, I have reached a lot more of my own deeper inner child trauma patternings, but not only from there, generationals from there. So the power of lineage, what's mine, what has been passed down, is been the thing that is now my sort of driving force moving forward, is opening up, shedding the light on people and whereabouts within themselves that they feel stuck, they feel still held back, and really peeling back each of those layers, because with one layer becomes another layer, and that's the beauty of what we do is, I also run retreats and workshops to be able to work on what is the energetics, what is the energy system, and then the next workshop is about the inner child therapy, and then it comes to shadow work and forgiveness. So when we can incorporate it all together, and not only that, you've got the sensory, you've got the sound, you've got the sight, you've got the nervous system. Everything plays an impact on how you are as a person.
Before we dive into that, because I'd love to get into some specific questions around the retreats that you do and what you do in your retreats. I'm just going to kind of circle it back to breath work. We've touched on the inner child, and we'll go into that a little bit more as well. But when it comes to breath work, for listeners out there who are probably new to breath work, I always like to ask this question on what your interpretation of breath work is. If you could summarize it, what is breath work? What are its benefits? Everyone has their own way of explaining this, but I'd love to hear what your take is on that, and how does it help inner child healing?
I think when you can focus on the breath, you take the monkey mind out, and you really take that inward journey when you're wholly and solely focusing on the breath, on the beingness, when you've got nothing outside of yourself other than just focusing on within. That's where the power lies.
We cut past that noise that you're talking
that's
about.
That's right, yeah. And you come into that stillness. You either come into a breath hold, or you come into, the fire activation, or the rest and the digest, and you move into the heart space. I think when you can take that inward journey, and my journey would be different to somebody else's with yours and anybody else that is sharing that one-on-one breath work, it is an individual breath. So everyone's transformation, whether it's a reset, whether it's moving through a trauma patterning, whether it's an epiphaniation, whether it's feeling lighter, I think the journey is within. We take our first breath when we're born. We take our last breath when we leave the planet. But we still go out to source.
Everything's connected to the breath as well. every bodily function is
Yeah.
connected to the breath, and,
Yeah.
and how we're breathing and how it affects everything.
So if you think about, you've just had something happen to you in life,
Something stressful.
traumatic experience, and you stay in that lock energetically, not physically, energetically. That part within yourself stays, let's say, at a freeze point.
Yeah.
So day after day, week after week, year after year, if your outside environment is still mimicking a trauma patterning that you've had way back, you keep on imprinting.
Yes.
And if you think about how that holds within the fascia and the soft tissue and the restrictions that you have within your body in that, and you can breathe into those darker parts of yourself and shed the light and shed the breath.
And you can discharge what's there. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Because this is kind of circling back to some of the stuff that we share in our workshops, right? The limiting beliefs, the stuff that holds us back, is most likely some kind of implicit memory that's been imprinted on us from repeat scenarios. So
That's right.
Gabriel Mate talks about how trauma isn't what happened to you, it's what happened in your body.
Yep.
And that's sort of what we do with breathwork, right? We kind of explain to a lot of people in our workshops is that you're going to get access to your subconscious mind. You're going to get access to maybe long-held patterns of belief that are there, and you get the opportunity to allow it to resurface and come out of your body. There's that book, The Body Keeps Score, right?
Yeah.
We use that term a lot in breathwork, but that sort of touches on like what breathwork is, and one of many different ways you can use breathwork is trauma release and releasing stuck, lodged patterns and
within the energy field.
Yeah.
And one really thing that sticks out to me that Lorraine had always taught me, I said, well, why me? Why was I always the person that was sexually abused? So if you've had a trauma patterning, it stays within your auric field. So the people that you're going to attract, because we're mind, body and spirit, are going to be the things that need to be healed within the body.
Yeah.
So through that, I also learnt that if you hold something in your field, whatever it is, whether it's abandonment,
you attract more of that, right? Yeah.
Correct.
And
so that's right. You attract more of it. So whether it's abandonment, whether it's abuse, whether it's I'm not good enough, whether it's perfectionist.
Yes.
There's so many things that affect that. The same as a personal hygiene, you need to have an energetic hygiene.
Yeah.
So when we can start to really self-reflect and not be afraid of who we are and letting go, that's where the true power of being limitless is.
Yeah. I like to, I thought of this analogy on the drive here, and I didn't share it today, but breathwork is kind of like when you got a computer and it's got all this backed up
100%.
information that's old and it needs to be defragged and you need to remove that information. Breathwork is sort of like a reset, right?
Yeah.
You can discharge all of that old information and make space for something new. And what you just touched on there too, I've seen that in my own experience. I'm going to be a little bit more transparent here on the podcast. In my personal life, my older sister, who I've shared before, has struggled with addictions her whole life, and self-destructive patterns. She was sexually abused when she was really young, and all she's ever attracted into her life was unavailable partners and people who would just
They're going to abuse
take
her.
advantage of her.
Yeah.
And it just became like she was a magnet for it.
That's right.
And the trauma just kept feeding on those experiences.
You look at the electromagnetic field. That's where it comes down to, isn't it? Like, how powerful are we when you look at it like that, Chris? Like, you're a magnet to what you are.
Yeah. Which is why this work is so important, right?
Definitely.
Inner child work and working on what's there underneath the surface that's playing underneath the surface. There's a saying, Carl Jung, he says, if you don't make the unconscious conscious, it'll rule your life and you'll call it fate.
Yeah.
Like, think about that for a second.
Yeah.
It'll rule your life and call it fate. You'll call it fate. Like, oh, this is just who I am. No, it's not.
No.
It's not. It's something that happened to you, but it doesn't have to be who you are. And for me, breathwork allows me to reclaim my power.
Yep.
To say, like I've said before, the buck stops with me. I get to put my
That's
foot
right.
down and take a stand and say, you know what? No, the generational patterns, the generational curses, they can stop here
Yeah.
because I'm going to take a stand. And breathwork allows me that opportunity.
And I think one
Yeah.
really beautiful thing, even just there, Chris, that when you can look at how have I got to where I am right now. So you can either use what you've got as a dysfunction, or you can use it as leverage and move it forward.
Yes.
And take that as your power to go, that's right, the buck stops here. I'm going to use that to be able to self-reflect and change.
Yeah. Was that quote I shared with you the other day? Grow, getting rid of old ways.
Yeah.
That's the journey of life. We start off as little kids and we continue to grow all throughout our life, and that shouldn't stop into adulthood and beyond.
Yeah.
We should be growing. We should be challenging our belief systems and challenging the things that we hold within that we think is true about ourselves.
The old models.
Exactly, because we always can grow. We can always learn. It doesn't stop at a certain age. We're always constantly learning and growing.
And my beautiful, really beautiful saying that I really love, Chris, is be the change that you wish to see in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can't change anybody.
No.
The only person that you can change is yourself.
Yeah, what's that saying? You can't lead a horse to water and make him drink.
That's right.
But if you can work on yourself,
Yeah.
that's that ripple effect that I was talking about at the beginning, right? We work on ourselves, and you don't need to worry about what other people are doing.
Yeah.
If you make that change in yourself, maybe it could be as simple as like the triggers that always affect you. If you work on that trigger enough and you realize and you bring some awareness to that and you find some way to regulate your nervous system, that's the change.
Yeah.
That's going to change your dynamics in your relationships because that trigger no longer affects you.
Yeah. And what the trigger is, what it actually holds. Is it heaviness? Is it anger? Is it fear? Is it sadness? Actually, it's great to be able to understand, okay, well, that's a trigger, but whereabouts does it come from? And what emotion is it attached to?
100%.
What didn't you receive?
Yes.
Or what wasn't met?
Yes, which leads me into a really great question. What are some signs, and you would have seen this quite a bit in your work as well, but what are some of the signs that someone has unresolved inner child wounds? What are some things that you've seen shown up? You don't have to give me a
It's you.
case example.
It's you. It's not me.
Yeah.
That's a prime one.
Yeah, like the blame, shifting the blame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people pleaser.
Yes. Making sure everybody's okay. And that's a fawn response.
Giving off myself even though I don't want to do it.
Yes.
Whether it's because I don't want you to abandon me, or I don't want to feel like I'm not good enough, or I'm not included.
Yeah. That's a very common one.
Alcohol addiction.
Yes.
I can speak my truth if I've got alcohol. I can't speak my truth if I don't. Drug addiction, food. Yeah, there's a lot out there to be able to say that needs to be looked at, or I just sort of think that there's a lot of things that are unconscious in people's beings that can be projected out as it's something else.
Somebody else. It's somebody else's thing, problem, or it's just the way I am kind of thing. And I'd love for you to share for listeners out there, especially somebody maybe who's never really dived into inner child work. What is a simple exercise that you know of where you can connect to your inner child? You can even do that right now, like a little meditation or something.
Yeah.
What's something that you would recommend?
So if you have a current memory or a current, I'm going to call it a dysfunction, only because if you have something that's always continually coming up in your life, there's got to be a time when you take yourself back to whereabouts, even if you can just remember one thing. I remember when I got left out at school and I felt abandoned. Okay, okay, I'm going to take you back to that high school. We're going to stand at the front. And before I walk in, I just want to be able to see, whereabouts is that little Michelle? Okay, she's over there sitting just in front of the canteen. She's on her own. She's feeling like she's not good enough. I'm going to start walking towards her. I'm going to ask her how she's feeling. Whereabouts is it within her that she feels like she's not good enough? And as I start to walk, I start to open up my heart and I allow her just to soften that it's okay. You are enough. Whereabouts did you get taught that you weren't enough? Walk a little bit further, look into her eyes. And then she just might say maybe something at home. Okay, darling, is it okay that I sit beside you? I'm going to have a little conversation with that 15-year-old year version of Michelle. What makes you feel like you're not good enough, darling? And then she could just say, well, nobody sees me. What is it that they need to see? And then just start talking to her and start peeling back. Well, I'm different to them. I don't see life like they see it. So I feel like I'm on the outside looking in to my family structure. Okay, darling, is that true? Would you like to take my hand now and then take a walk back to the family home? And as we start to walk through the family home, just how does it feel when you take that younger version of yourself? What happens in your body?
Yeah. What kind of signals does your body send
you?
you?
Do you start to shut down? Whereabouts in your body do you feel it?
Mm.
What are the emotions that are attached to that?
Mm.
And here you start to really pull back those layers and seeing what is actually happening. And it might not be one thing. It could be a variation of a lot of things. But that's where it starts.
Mm.
And it could have just started because I felt abandoned.
Yeah.
But the abandonment comes to the unseen, comes to the I'm unlovable, comes to, and so forth and so forth. And this is where we start to peel back those layers and to get to a real core of what that is. And then when you look at that, it could be branching off to different things from there. And then mirroring it from there to the outer world.
Yeah.
Well, then how do the teachers talk to you? How do your friends talk to you? So it's not just a one thing. It's a branch of different things. So that's the beauty of working with the inner child. It's not just one layer. So if I'm gonna ask whereabouts are you gonna start, just start from where it is in your now life that's not working.
Yeah.
What is happening in your now life? That's all.
Yeah. What's not working?
Yeah.
Or what is some...
What's the restrictions? What's the boundaries? It could be my relationships are dysfunctional.
Yeah.
You know, or I feel powerless. Or I don't want to be the people pleaser anymore. Why?
Yes.
And you keep on being the people pleaser. But whereabouts do you learn these specific things about yourself?
These unconscious behaviors.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it takes to dig, to ask the right questions, to start peeling back and get to the innate person, the authenticity. And that could take a couple of sessions. It could take, a lot of times, because you might find it really hard to trust in me and trust in yourself.
Yeah.
So there's no right or wrong way of starting, or someone else's journey is fast track and the other person's may not be. We are all where we're at when we're at there.
100%. Like, you meet people where they're at, and I can relate to so much of what you shared there, because I've had these instances, I guess. It's a real simple one comes up while you were sharing what you just shared there. I was on a bus ride to work one morning. This is pre-breath work, pre any of this stuff that I'm getting into inner child work, any of this stuff. And I was sitting on the bus on the way to work. It's still early in the morning, so I'm still kind of lucid. I'm still tired. And I had this sharp feeling all throughout my nervous system. And a thought came to mind. My mum yelling at me, screaming at me violently. And it sent all these sensations throughout my body. Like, I felt really powerless and scared. And then I had to snap myself back out of it. I'm like, hold on, I'm on a bus right now. I'm in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
Why is this affecting me right now? Why is this even coming up right now? And I guess that kind of triggered a thought of like, maybe there's something there going underneath the surface that I need to work through. I kind of knew all throughout my 20s and early 30s, I had shit that I was holding on to from my upbringing. But it's that those signals you were talking about, right? It's an indicator that something's going on in the body.
Yeah.
Something stored in the fascia.
Yeah.
Something is being held on in the nervous system, and it's a survival state that you're most likely holding on to.
Beautiful with that. Just adding on to that is that unrepressed. Let's just say you were 6, and you weren't able to process. Yes. Those emotions at 6-year-old.
Because you're 6 years old.
That's
you don't
right.
have a fully developed
Correct.
prefrontal cortex. You don't know how to calm down your nervous system. So but everything else works. The fight or
That's
flight
right.
state, moving into sympathetic branch nervous system, that still happens. But you don't have the cognitive ability to rationalize what just happened to yourself and calm yourself down.
Yeah.
So that is kind of what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah.
It locks in.
Yep. And then through breath work, can you reach those parts that have stayed restriction? We don't have to put a story on it. We don't have to put anything on it.
We don't need to have a therapy session over it. Yeah.
Feel the feels and I'll let them go.
Yeah.
And then that way there, it becomes softer. And each time that you do a breath work, and again, you might not, go through a full unwind or cry or yell or scream or whatever. Every single breath work or every time that you go within just gives you that little bit more depth, that little bit more light, that little bit more reset of the nervous system. And we look at the nervous system and look at about all the nerves that go off to different parts of the organs that hold different emotions.
Yes.
So that's what's powerful about this. There's not one modality, not one part of the body. It's a unison.
Yes.
Is that if I'm breathing into, let's just say I'm really angry with X, Y, and Z, I'm going to store that in my liver. But if we look at that and we look at the solar plexus that's attached to the liver, the branch of the nerve, this is why it's beautiful. It's like you don't know what's going to happen in any session.
Yes.
So that's just why the power of it is that you allow your spirit to be shown the way.
Yeah.
Take out the mind.
Yeah.
Take out the ego. Let it step aside. Lorraine used to always say to me, or in any one-on-one session, allow the ego mind to step aside, ask it to go and sit over there, and then come back here to the heart, back to the spirit, because it's the energetic work is where the power lies.
Amen. Amen.
And that's what we breathe. That's what keeps us aligned.
I love that you said aligned.
I know.
Yeah.
Aligned breath work.
Aligned, perfect. But we're going to switch gears a little bit here because I want to talk about your retreats. I've been on a few of them. We went to Uluru. We've done Glen Eden earlier this year. I want to sort of, for the listeners out there, take people on a bit of a journey of what your retreats are. What makes them unique to the healing journey. What can people expect from going to one of your retreats? What kind of experiences and breakthroughs that people have? Can you give us a little bit of a behind the scenes look at what that is?
Yeah. Some people will say that expect the unexpected. Because when you have an expectation of coming in, you're already expecting something to happen.
Yeah.
But when you can just let go and come in and be shown the way, my retreats and workshops are about you.
Yeah.
Shining the light, awakening parts of you that have left dormant within the body.
Yeah.
I think that's mostly the easiest way that I can say that. I always have a mystery event that are with any of my retreats, and the reason why I do that is that life is a mystery. Like, I don't know what's going to happen when I leave here today. So when you're signing up to be taken on a journey,
yes,
that's life.
yeah. It's like, again, I've seen people struggle with this, even at your
people
retreats,
do.
where
What are
they
we doing?
go, yeah, what's the schedule? What time do I have to be here, etc.
Yeah.
And you sort of take them away from that fixation of needing to know.
Most definitely.
Because we need to get out of that conscious thinking, always analytical minds.
Because it's an old way of being. Like, who said there was a Monday to Sunday?
Yeah.
Know what I mean? Like, okay, is that working for us? The school system, is that working for us? Like, all these systems that are being placed in, where did they all come from?
You could argue it's not working.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's the same when you come to a retreat. If I said I'm going to be here at 9 o'clock, but half an hour ago I've just fallen over and broken my leg, I'm not going to show up at 9 o'clock because I'm going to be in a world of pain. But then there's an expectation that I had to be there. It's like, oh my God, I said I was going to be there at 9 o'clock and I'm not.
But with that said, with the expectation of what could someone possibly expect at your retreat, what are some of the things
to find deeper parts of
cover?
yourself.
Yeah.
It's to find your triggers. It's to find your patterns. It's to find you, your authenticity. So when I do my workshops, there are 3-part modules. So the first part of the modules are about, learning the groundingness, the heart, the energetics, the energy system, the breath. That's one part of the module. The second module is about inner child, your patterns, your behaviors, your core wounds. And then the third part is about learning about your shadow side and forgiveness. Forgiving of self and forgiving of others. Because the moment that we can let go of forgiveness and just allow yourself to be free of that, we're not holding that within ourselves. Such and such did that to me when I was 15. Such and such did that to me when that happened to me. Why did you do that to me? And the more of these that we keep on putting in our backpack, the more we're going to get heavier and heavier and heavier and keep ourselves lower in vibration.
Because you're keeping score, right?
Yeah.
And forgiveness not only
is about setting yourself free.
Yeah, not only you, but that other person as well.
That's right. And most of the time, forgiveness comes from not so much for them, but for yourself.
Mostly for you, yeah.
I'm setting myself free. Because I've done things in life that I'm not proud of.
Yeah.
I would love for you to forgive me if I've done something that I've been unconsciously or I've done out of my own core wounds.
I can relate to that too. I'm not perfect. I've upset people in the past and they've upset me and I've done things and I've had to acknowledge, and humble myself. I'm not the good guy all the time.
Yeah.
And I've done things in the past that I'm not proud of.
And that's embracing your shadow side.
Exactly. Yeah. So it sounds like at your retreats you cover a lot of bases and you go deep pretty quick.
It is
and
they are deep.
And I've seen that firsthand, shooting your retreats and assisting at your retreats and co-facilitating parts of it. I see very quickly how quickly people go deep, especially around the inner child work as well. I feel like there's just something to that where they just, everyone's got that part of themselves, right?
Yeah.
We all have gone through something throughout our childhood that shapes us to who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that I will say is that if you have a safety when people are becoming vulnerable to you, you have to be able to hold yourself safe enough that they feel safe enough in your arms to be vulnerable to whatever it is that they're holding back from their true self.
Yeah, and safety is everything, right, in work that we do, right?
Yeah.
And
first and foremost.
Yeah. And how do we create that safety? We create it within ourselves first. We regulate our nervous system. And that applies to even our children and our relationships as well. If we can create that safetiness, that feeling of safety, that sense of safety within ourselves, we co-regulate and we also feel, we create that feeling of people can feel safe to open up, to be vulnerable.
One really big thing, Chris, that I love about you is your code of honor, your value system, and the man you are. I don't have a lot of men in my life, never have had a lot of men in my life, because I've had a lifelong of people sexually abusing me, taking from me.
Yeah.
So I feel safe enough in a presence working alongside of you because you are safe. So when I'm working with women, and I'm working with a lot of women, and through our retreats that you've come along to, people feel vulnerable enough to be in your space because you allow them without any sexual...
No judgments either.
Yep, with any sexual attachments, with any judgment, with anything inferior. You know, you don't make anyone feel inferior. So that's a lot of self-work that you've done to get where you are when you are in a room that can hold people's wounds and vulnerability. So I want to thank you for our paths crossing, because you've also shown me that there are men out there that you can feel safe with. And it comes with knowing yourself, knowing your own intuition and what feels right and what doesn't.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate you saying that. It is a lot of work, and I think a lot of the capacity to do that comes from overcoming a lot of hardship as well.
Yeah.
So being able to relate to others when they open up and they share, okay, that's some deep, heavy stuff. I can relate.
Yeah.
I know what that's like. Oh, when you're talking about personal experiences of abuse, oh yeah, I know that too well.
Yeah.
I've seen that in myself and in my siblings and in the people around me, my family, and that dynamic. I know it, so I can hold it.
Yeah.
And I can acknowledge it and not make people feel like they can't be open about that stuff. Coming back to what you're saying, like I know that far too well. And yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because I've been in spaces as well, and I'm sure you have as well, where that sense of safety isn't really there.
Yeah.
So they say that they are, but you know it all too well. You know what safety feels like, and it ain't that. So I guess that's where I want to, in my values as well, take a stand against that. When I say that I want to create safety for people, I mean it. I want them to feel it, and I need them to know that it's not about how much I know, it's about how much I actually care about them. So that's kind of the angle that I get at. But this is not a podcast about me. I want to kind of switch it back to you, and I'd love to circle back to what we're talking about with your retreats. And you know, we've already touched on what people can kind of expect from your retreats.
Yeah.
I'd love to know for the people out there who are, you know, thought about going on a retreat, and then they may be worrying about when they go back into their life, how do I actually maintain this change, this transformation? What are some tips that you give to people to help them integrate after a retreat?
Yeah. I'm there through phone call, text message. You get given booklets, so there's always the writings that you do within that. I've always got workshops on during the month. I have a pay what you can on a Thursday night breathwork that you can come along and share. It's a community, so when we open up and you come to a specific workshop, you have got a network of people that have come there as your spirit family. Once you have just done, let's just say you've come out to Uluru, you've got your spirit family. So you can also pull on your other group members. You get given different things when you leave, like different breathwork techniques, different inner child ways to be able to deal with things, and spirit will test you.
Yeah.
You will be tested.
Yeah.
Because how far have you come? Is this what you really want? Are you going to keep on embedding the same things?
I love it when those situations happen. I've had them happen too, where it's like the universe or your guides or whatever you want to call it is testing you to see if you are who you really say you are.
Yeah, which is beautiful, because it really makes you feel and change if that's what you want.
In other words, and what you're sharing here is that not only is there a lot of support that you give post workshops, post retreats, there's also aftercare. There's all the protocols and things that people can take away afterwards and integrate into their life in their own time, and that's sort of an accountability as well, right? They go to your retreat, but you stay in contact with them, you check in on them, but it's also on them to continue doing the work in their own time.
And this is one, there's one-on-one sessions. One really beautiful thing that I've always taken from Lorraine was not to be codependent on me. Because I can give you the information, we can do some sessions, and we can do some in a couple of months' time, or in a year's time, or 2 years' time. One really beautiful thing that I do remember, Chris, is that, I opened 1,000 Paths 22 years ago, back in Richmond at the time. And I thought, oh gosh, there's a lady across the road, she does healing as well, and there was someone down there that did massage as well. And so I went there and I just said, hi, my name's Michelle, I'm moving across the road, I do energetics, I do inner child therapy, and I'm a massage therapist. Because I believe there's enough for everybody. That we all have something to share and something to grow and something to learn from. And what I am, I may not be what you are.
Right.
So this is where the beauty of this field, just like doctors, just like specialists, just like, another healer, we all get drawn to the people that we need to be able to learn whatever it is at that time.
100%. And we spoke about this on the phone other day, that with the breathwork facilitators out there, it's important to do your due diligence, but also find what fits for you, find what vibes for you. Like there's so many breathwork instructors out there.
And what makes one really big thing that I do see is the ego mind, that everybody must come to me because I am X, Y, and Z. No, it doesn't work like that, because what someone receives from me today might be the next layer that they'd come to you and receive from you tomorrow. So when you can let go that there's enough for everybody, and the healing work when you're coming from your heart is the gift.
That's it.
So out of the mind, into the heart.
And just trusting, trust your gut, use your intuition. And naturally, I think that we're tribal creatures, and so we seek out people who are like us, right? And so we might seek out facilitators who maybe resemble some traits that remind us of somebody, or there's somebody we're just drawn to their energy, right? And so I think that's important on one level, but also just doing your due diligence but being open to exploring other facilitators out there, because you might be able to get something from someone else that person couldn't give you.
That's right.
That's why I'm not fixated on one style of teaching with breathwork, which I love about breathwork, is such a broad spectrum. There are so many great teachers out there I can learn from. So I don't just stick to the one. I reach out, and I've done different facilitator trainings, and I've dived into other aspects of breathwork because of that fact, that there are so many different ways I can learn about a particular topic. And breathwork being that particular topic. We're kind of getting to some final questions here. And I'd love to know what's probably the most rewarding part of your work?
The most rewarding part is when you see that change in someone, where they've just had that light bulb moment and they're never going to be the same again. That's what lights me up. Is the And then there we go.
Like
They've found that.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, they've found that deeper part of themselves. And then when you know, you can't not know.
Yes. If you,
Yeah.
it's like if you know better, you got to do better, right? I have this philosophy for myself that as much information that I've acquired, I need to apply. If I know something that has changed my life, then why keep going back to the old me?
Yeah.
Why keep going back to the old habits that don't work for me anymore when I know better?
Yeah.
So it's like,
And be gentle with yourself. As much as you can know better at the start,
yes,
sometimes it may
you might
just
fall
take
back
a little bit.
Yeah. And that's
Backwards, forwards,
yes,
backwards, forwards.
Yeah.
And
You've
then
got to
it's
do
like,
that.
aha.
You got to do that enough times, right? To
Yeah.
like rock bottom. Everybody's rock bottom is different. Sometimes rock bottom just is a continuous rock bottom.
Yeah.
But each time maybe you learnt something a little bit different, and you can pick yourself back up from that rock bottom, go a little bit higher each time, and that rock bottom becomes less down here and more up here because
that feels better here
exactly.
than what that does. But if you've
Exactly.
only known that
Yes.
and had a snippet,
Yeah.
if at all,
Yeah.
the light, then I'm going to stay here because I don't know what that feels like. I know what
Habits
this
take
feels
work, right? Habits take work
Yeah.
to form and to break. So they say it's like 21 days to. That's I don't know if that's an old study. 21 days for
Yeah.
like months to break a habit.
Yeah.
And to start a new habit is even longer than that. So yeah, you got to give yourself grace when.
Well, it takes, I think they were saying that it takes, every 3 months your cells are changing.
Yes.
So if you're saying the same thing over and over and over again, that's what you're going to get. And then each time, 6 months, 12 months, now that's your new pattern.
100%.
Now you change your cells. Now you change your energy field.
That's it.
It's power.
That's where the change is, right?
Yeah.
And it's consistent work. It's
Yeah.
not like an easy fix. It's gonna take time.
Yeah.
Next question
Yeah.
is: what piece of advice would you give to young Michelle before she started her healing journey?
I think the thing that comes to me the most is don't dull your shine to make other people better. Like, I've dulled my shine most of my life to feel comfortable around other people. Allow my light to shine and shine those will around
Yes.
to come and not meet me where I'm at, like I'm something better than anyone, because that's not true. But don't dull your shine to make other people and meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
Shine your light bright and allow other people to shine their light bright. That's what I would tell.
Because sometimes it's
Little
like a
Michelle.
chain reaction, right? When you shine your light, you naturally give others permission to do the same.
Correct.
And sometimes people need that little nudge or
Yeah.
that little permission slip to be like that as well.
I've been told all my life, Chris, that I'm too analytical. You're too deep. You're this. And I've had some massive realizations just over the last couple of weeks in itself, where it's amazing when people say that to you. That's where they're at. Doesn't mean that's where I need to meet you at. I can still be who I am. I don't have to change who I am to meet you where you're at.
Yes.
I'll still keep on being me, and maybe you could turn around and meet me where I'm at, right? Or maybe you can go a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Maybe you can pull off a couple of the masks and face your own inner demon.
And you create the space for others to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
The next question is, if someone, for listeners out there who's just starting their inner healing journey, inner child work, what's a piece of advice that you'd give to them?
we leave parts of ourselves behind, being laughed at, felt like you're abandoned. So my suggestion would be is to go back gently, with no judgment, stillness, and ask yourself as you go back through the ages of what you look like, what you felt like, where you were at the time, where you were living, who was around, and take your power back from those people that have hurt you. See that silver cord the energetic cord that connects you and someone else's energy together. And cut that cord. Allow them to move on with love and light and bring that back to you. That peace. Whether it's a broken heart, whether it's unseen, whether it's abandonment, whether it was physical, mental, sexual abuse. Little bit by little bit would be the things that I would say to anyone. That go back and collect those versions of yourself first that have laid. The same with you, Chris, when you just heard your mum yelling at you. How old were you? What was happening at the time? Bring that little 8-year-old boy back forward to the now. I've got you, mate. It's okay. Mum was X, Y, and Z at the time. Cut the cord. Allow mum to go off with love and light. She only knew what she knew.
She only knew what she knew, right?
And that's okay. Because everybody's where they're at from where they've come from.
Yes.
This is where we can let go of forgiveness now. Is because I don't know what was going on with mum. I don't know what was going on with dad. What happened to dad when he was younger?
Yeah,
and what happened to his dad?
Maybe if my mum had the tools and resources that I do now, that I'm fortunate that because of the internet, I have the ability to go and research this stuff.
And we come from war times, though.
Yeah.
The families and the family and the generations back.
It's generations of
poverty.
Intergenerational trauma, right?
So we've come in now and we start collecting all these material wealth and, gathering all these things because this is what we need to fill us up. But bring it back to simplicity.
Yes.
Because those things that also fill you up also keep you present to your life. Because you have to keep on keeping on. You can't stop and rest and digest because I've got this, and this.
Because of this society and how it's built and how we have to be constantly on the move.
Constant.
Yeah.
To keep on fighting for something that we're a prisoner to.
Yes.
Just bring it back to simple.
Yes.
What's enough?
Now on that note.
We don't need more likes. We don't need more things.
Accumulating. Yeah. Now on that note of slowing down, I'd love to get into final question. About your retreat in Zensi. I'd love to share a little bit to the listeners out there about what's coming up and tell us a little bit about Zensi Retreat.
So the Zensi Retreat is in August.
The Unwritten Retreat.
Yeah, the Unwritten Retreat, which is beautiful because we know who we are now. But once we start letting go and we start self-reflecting, and Zensi is all about the shadow work and it's about forgiveness. That when we can really peel back those layers and look at ourselves, what's not written? That if I've forgiven those people that have hurt me, if I can see that mask now that has been reflected back to me, who am I? Who's the version that I'm becoming when I've only known this? Yes.
And there's a power to that, right? We shared it today, right? We can let go of things, but once we let go of things and we create space, what can we bring more of?
What are you going to put in that space? Are you going to put more of the same because it feels comfortable? Because once you start letting go, Chris, as you know, you let go, you've got all of these heavy energies around you or within you. Once you start bringing light into that, it's like, I've got this lightness here. Okay, I'm not used to that. Oh, that feels uncomfortable. That feels uncomfortable for me now to be light, to be love. So am I going to put more of the same in to keep me where I'm at, to keep me stuck, to keep me heavy? Because that's what's normal for me. Or am I going to bring more light and more love into that? So that comes to, well, what are the things that light you up? Yes. Whereabouts am I inwardly going now outward as opposed to outwardly coming inward to keep me stuck?
And what can you share for people out there about what to expect from this retreat?
That's what to expect.
That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, okay. It's to expect the unexpected, is that you're the one that's writing your new chapter.
And because it's unwritten, it's unknown, so...
That's right. So is it? So once we start peeling back those layers of self, you're quite left vulnerable. You're in that stillness. Yeah. So it's from the heart. And only does your soul know what it wants.
What are the dates for this retreat?
The dates to this retreat, I think it's the 12th to the 15th, isn't it, of August?
That's right. So we'll share in the notes, the show notes of this podcast. I'll have everything, the links to everything as well if you want to learn more about that. Yeah. I'm excited. once again going to get to be working with you,
Yeah.
alongside you and the
Yeah.
rest of your team and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Final question: where can people connect with you online?
So, 1,000 Paths is on Instagram and
Yeah.
Facebook.
So 1,000 Paths. Yeah.
And then from there, I've also got Harmonise the
Harmonize
Breath.
the Breath on Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, please reach out if you've got any questions or if you'd like to know, anything that I can support you with. Be more than happy to, we also do corporate events as well, where we can go out to businesses and create new mindsets, new reset of the nervous system, being able to really bring back the rest and digest to be able to get more out of your staff as well. So that's where we're moving forward.
So tools and resources for the corporate environment. So if you need
mindset
new
strategies.
ways and new ways of
breathing.
Avoiding burnouts, for example, or say you got a stressful meeting coming up, what kind of techniques can we implement to calm ourselves down in the heat of that kind of situation? All these different techniques we're going to be sharing. We're going to be packaging that up in a corporate kind of way. So if you want to learn more about that, I'll share all of our links. You guys are obviously, whoever's listening is already following along the journey, but I have all the links of Michelle's Michelle's brands on Harmonize the Breath and 1,000 Paths and the retreat. All that information you can find in the show notes of this podcast in Spotify. And, connect with her online. I really love doing this with you. I've said from the start, and I always, I'm so grateful that you're in my life.
I'm grateful that you're in my life.
You are
as
like
well.
a real, salt of the earth, soul sister. I'm really grateful that you're in my life, and I'm always going to be a cheerleader for you and shine a spotlight on what you do. And I know you're going to be vice versa for me.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you.
Thank you.
Love you, sis.
Love you.
All right.